Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk, where we have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable conversation. All right. Welcome everybody to Talk That Talk. We have the unfiltered, unscripted, uncomfortable conversation about band, HBCU, band culture, music education, and more. I am not the only one on the panel right now, but I'm right here right now. So what happened was I don't know why I have to keep explaining this, but there's something going on with the program that I use, and for some reason, it just decided to start tripping again. So it created a completely different link, and so if you went over to the old page, then the old page has a new link, but the old page ain't actually playing anything. Well, a whole bunch of mess, man. So, Quan, what up, brother? Smiths, unmute.
What's up, doctor? How y'all doing today?
We good. We good.
That's what
I don't know why you sound low. Do I sound low?
I sound low.
You sound low.
I'm sick of this.
I am too, dog. I just don't understand, man. In 1 minute, everything works fine, and then all of a sudden, it just
We gotta start praying. We need to start praying before we get on it.
we definitely will, man.
I'm
We definitely
Father,
go.
in Jesus' name.
Yeah, we put the prayer circle together and get it going,
Here,
get it
there,
popping.
and everywhere.
So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm 40, man.
Hallelujah.
I'm 40.
Many people don't get there.
Yeah,
Hallelujah.
yeah, man. It's. I'm gonna tell you right now, for all of us, all the people who are watching right now, if you ain't hit 40 yet, if you ain't hit a milestone age or whatever, the day before was just like reflection for me. Like I was just struggling in the sense of trying to figure out what life looks like after 40 and thanking God for the 40 years that I did have. So that was like a really big situation for me. I don't know why. It just really was. But I'm 40. So I bless God for 40 years, man. I will say this. If you do want to go ahead and bless your brother, you can go ahead. I'm gonna do like Dr. Umar. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App. J Luke 3191906. Hit the Cash App. See, I'm gonna do it. So if all y'all people who don't know who Dr. Umar is, and it is what it is. But if you do, that's where it came from. But you can go ahead and hit it though. I ain't gonna tell you not to. Go ahead and hit the Cash App. You can. I don't care what you put in. 50 cents, a dollar, 20, 25. You can put 40 up in there. $1 for every year that I have been blessed to be on this earth. So again, man, I appreciate all of you guys for all the love that I got. I'm probably gonna go live sometime tomorrow and really talk about that. Not no band stuff, just life, bro. Because I don't have that kind of conversation. Anyway. Moving forward, though, Portia will not be joining us tonight. She is a little under the weather, so you guys send some well wishes to Portia. She hit me with the text daddy early on and was like, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to make it." So send your prayers up and well wishes to Portia. I need that jacket that you got though. That I've been looking at it this whole time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Fresh out the box, you dig? You know?
Yeah. Stop, look, and watch. Ready yet? Get set. All right. Okay, so before we get into this, a lot of stuff has been going on in the band world. Jackson State performed at the Legacy Bowl, the Legacy, whatever it was called. I don't know. I don't really understand the purpose of the Legacy Bowl. Is it a game? Is it a football game? Is it a game between other people? I don't know. I just saw Jackson State performing, and you know, for someone who's been out of the loop for a while, as far as it pertains to actually putting on a field show, I think they did a really good job. But I will say that Jackson State has really kind of right now been the face of HBCU marching band. I see that they've also upgraded their social media presence. They got a new media team person. So shout out to Jackson State, man. Other thing and other news that's going on. Adjudication is going on around the world. Shout out to Crystal. I think she said she goes either tomorrow or sometime this week. I've seen some middle schools that have been going to adjudication. I know that Dallas ISD is prepping for adjudication. I think it's not next week because they have spring break, but I think they have pre-UIL when they come back from spring break. And then I know you got UIL coming up.
Yes, I had a concert festival at Texas Southern. Shout out to them and their entire staff. It really was good. So shout out to Dr. Pollard, Brother Redding, and everybody that was there adjudicating and whatnot. We received excellent ratings there, so I'm excited about that. We have HISD's um, festival, which is the 22nd, and then we hit the stage on the real deal on the 27th. So keep us lifted in y'all prayers. Superior, superior, superior.
Absolutely, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yes.
I have no doubt in my mind that it's gonna happen, man. And to be very honest, I was just looking at Irone's live that he was doing with his kiddos, man, and so it's some really good work happening across the spectrum. So I'm really glad to see it. Really happy to see it. Appreciate you guys for letting me know what the Legacy Bowl was. I honestly just did not know. I had heard of it multiple times. And so I was glad I'm glad that you guys fill me in on exactly what that was. All right. There's a lot of different shows that we have coming up as far as Talk That Talk is concerned. But for tonight, what we're talking about is we're actually talking about the evolution of the HBCU band. It's something that was really been on my mind for a while, wondering where we came from, talking about where we came from, where we're going, and if we are going in the right direction. Or I can even ask another question. What is the right direction? Who defines the right direction? So we'll be talking about that. Me and Quan will be going back and forth. He will be in and out. Pause. Because he's doing some things on his end of the spectrum right now. But don't worry, we're still going to have a meaningful conversation. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the room so that way if any of you guys want to come in and put your 2 cents in, talk that talk with us, you are more than welcome to do so. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first thing, or the first question that I had that's on my list here is the perspective of HBCU bands, and wondering what do you all feel is the perspective, or what was the perspective of HBCU bands when we're talking about early years, when we're talking about the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. What is your perspective of what the HBCU band was during those times? I will definitely start off by saying that my personal opinion, as far as what the perspective was of the HBCU band, was actually to exude the musical excellence that that actually did exist within the culture of the African American diaspora. If you want to go that route, we are, as a people, and we have always been very talented. I feel like we've always been the people who shift culture. And so during that time, I feel like that was our job. That was the thing that we did, whether we were on the field, whether we were in the jazz bands, whether we were in the wind ensemble, so on and so forth. And one of the things that actually brings that to light for me is when I did my research in my master's program, looking at and understanding that I only did one sector of the world, and that was the state of Texas, but understanding what they were doing at that time, and the excellent or the superior ratings that they were getting at what was called the PVIL at the time. We had some phenomenal musicians coming out of inner city schools, and specifically, and going to HBCUs. And then we had phenomenal musicians coming from HBCUs and going into different spaces, whether they were backup players for certain universities. If I'm not mistaken, the Marsalis brothers came from, what was it, Southern University, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely a rich history of showing the greatness of musicianship that we as a people, as chocolate folk, have always had and exuded. Quan, what's your thoughts? What do you think the perspective of HBCU bands were in the early days, the 60s, the 70s, the 50s, the 40s, and any other time before that?
I mean, for me, my perspective is in the 40s, 50s, the establishment of bands. I think we were trying to find our own niche, so to speak, but we were mimicking, what predominantly white institutions were doing, you know, marching up and down the field, playing marches. I mean, think about it. Um, we play Purple Carnival out of tradition, right? Purple Carnival was written by, you know, our counterparts, and our other colleagues. Purple Carnival. Like we could name most of them: Purple Carnival, Barnum and Bailey. What is it? Circus B. Rolling Thunder, so forth and so on. Like for the most part. So we were emulating that, and I think to a degree, in the realistic approach and a realistic opinion and a realistic aspect is this: we were at one point just trying to let the world know that we weren't inferior. So sometimes the mindset is I have to do the same thing that somebody else is doing just to let them know that I'm not inferior, right? So that's one thing. But I think Dr. William P. Foster had a vision, and that's why, as a band director or as a person, for whatever you form of career that you're going to endeavor in, you got to have your own vision, right? So he had a vision to say, "Hey, I'm going to march up and down the field, and I'm gonna play blues," and he did, and he created that space at FAMU because he was rejected in other areas, and so he took that and revolutionized it and said, "Hey, I'm gonna play the music that's popular," and now you see the birth of what we call HBCU bands. So we're talking about from the 50s all the way to what we see now. That's why I say, you can't hate on FAMU. And then you have to pay homage to the Southern universities and different things like that. However, um, the evolution of it, and I'm gonna just be honest, I feel like the golden age of band was the 80s and the 90s. I feel like that's when they took it to a completely different level. But I do feel like now you have some band directors, due to education and the age of resources. Now your Pieware, your Ultimate Drill books, and having access to push the envelope outside of the Bill Moffats and what's the other ones? That type of drilling. Now you have your North Carolina A&Ts that are taking things from floating shows and whatnot now. So I think we're going in the right direction, bro.
Oh Lord, that was loud. I'm sorry, it was very loud in my ear, super loud in my ear. Okay, so you jumped in a lot of different places. Okay, I'm trying to figure out which place that I want to jump to first. Pause. Okay, so you said that you felt like the golden age of marching band or the golden age of HBCU band was in the 80s and the 90s, right? Why? Why do you feel like that was the golden age?
So, so number one, this is very subjective. That's number one. So yeah, that is very subjective. So I feel that if you look at the trick from the trickle down, trickle up effect, however you want to see it from the pyramid aspect, collegiate bands were the apex at that time. I don't care what level you were. Even if you go back to the previous approach of Mississippi Valley when they were core style, when they were, when they was on that thing, they was doing it. You feel me? I just feel like that was the epitome of it. That's number one. Number two, it was something that we talked about because we didn't always have access to, right? And then a lot of the times, your high school programs were still thriving as well. So now, if we're just gonna be honest, you have some high school bands that can outplay some of the colleges.
So you're not wrong. Okay. And the last thing that you said, you're not wrong. I don't disagree with what you said in that last thing. Hold up, I keep adjusting this audio. Is it too loud?
Nah, you muffled. Nah, you should have left it alone, bro. You should have left it alone.
Okay, how's it now?
I still don't like it.
Okay, now.
Keep talking, bro.
Anyway, what I was saying was, so I'm gonna go back into what I wanted to talk about, and then in that, I'm going to lead up into the things that you said. So then what do you feel the perspective of new school or what we say or what we see as band right now is to be? Um, because I'm gonna tell you my personal opinion. I feel like now the outward look of the perspective, and then getting to the inward. I feel like the perspective
Hey,
then.
Luke, they said they can't hear you in the comments.
I knew it. I knew it. That's why I turned it up. I turned it up because I felt like you couldn't hear me. So I'm gonna turn it up some more. Hold up. Can you hear me now?
How about now? Because I'm
Can
up
you?
right now.
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
You
but
stuck right now.
but from the outward appearance, I feel like the perspective right now is to clout chase. To be very honest,
Mm-hmm.
and to get as many people and viewers as we possibly can to look at our programs and to get as many clicks as we can possibly get. Now, from the outward perspective. Now, from my inward thought process and what I believe that the perspective of bands is now, honestly, is to keep kids off the street, to keep them in something positive, to educate them in some way, and to make sure that they graduate. And I don't even think in mass that whole graduation thing is there. So I think there are some schools that are worried about graduation, and then there are some that just worried about making their band look large. That's my personal perspective. What are your thoughts?
I mean, so while I think that your comment has validity, we just have to be mindful that we can't speak for the director. I do think with social media in
That's
this
why
era.
that's why I said there. I believe that there
Yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah.
there are two different versions. This is my thoughts. I already know that that's probably not the perspective of the director.
Correct. And I pray that it's not real, like real spill. I pray that it's not. However, um, I just think overall, I think I think social media has, to a degree, has done more damage than good to a degree. Like I said, like it was an honor and privilege. Sorry, I had to tell one of my students. He writing music now. He was saying bye. So yeah,
That's the
he
young
was in
brother
camp.
you were.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the young
Gotcha.
brother that received the full ride to Hampton. I can't put him out the back out no more.
There you
See what
go.
I'm
There
saying?
you go.
Yeah. Um, but but in all actuality, I think what's going on in reality, social media has done good, but it has done bad for the exposure of the world. Now we have reaction videos of HBCU bands in Australia. We have HBCU bands reactions in the Caribbeans, Canada, so forth and so on. Right? Turn me up too, bro. Turn me up too. They say they can't hear me.
What they saying? Turn you up or turn me up?
I said turn the volume up. My volume all the way up. Can you hear me?
Keep talking.
All right, cool. So my whole point is I think that aspect is good. But the reality of it, we're living in the TikTok era of bands. And everything is going to evolve, and you have to push the envelope to attain those students to ensure that you have a job. That's just the name of the game. We went from showing up to the game, and we're speaking about evolution tonight. We speaking about at one point you were excited to go to the game, right? Where field shows were almost 10 minutes long, 10, 12 minutes long, right? To where then you went to the VHS era. Then now you transition to the DVD era. That's us. We DVD babies, you know. You would
I'm
okay,
VHS
bro.
brother.
Just cause you 40. All lordy, the boy didn't turn 40. No, I'm just saying. Uh my thing is VHS DVD era, and now we're in the social media area where something is instantaneous, right? Microwavable generation. So now we're to the point where, in my opinion, things are moving so fast to where some of what we considered, um how can I'm trying to phrase it better, but overall it's just a different time, bro. And people do have to keep up with the Joneses. I'm gonna say this, and We have to admit it. Southern University created the blueprint for social media and marketing for bands. And so everybody has to grab onto that train, because I'm gonna be real. Southern University left everybody 10 years behind, and everybody at this moment is trying to play catch up. That's what it is, bro. It kudos to them. Kudos to um, Nathan Hamer at that particular time. Like, that's just what they did. Shout out to Garrett. Garrett's the GOAT. You got to put these people in certain classes where um they started it. And I think the oversaturation of it, now everybody's trying to catch up. I think that's the difference. So you have to do certain marketing things. You need a marketing team now, bro. Bands are a business. That's just the truth. If you don't operate like a business, then I don't know what to tell you. But we have to be careful. This is the other side. We have to be careful because we put a lot of this on HBCUs, but DCI do the same thing. You got it, bro.
I didn't know if you were gonna keep going.
Okay.
So because I did want to lean into something else, but you brought that up, and I want to backtrack into that. Yes, DCI does do the same thing. DCI has found a way to market and capitalize on this stuff. So I think that is the difference. Um, they have truly made what they do a brand. Um, and they've figured out. I ain't gonna say they figured out. They've always, well, not since the inception, but since it really caught on, they've marketed and found a way to make sure that money continues to circulate in order to be able to feed into what they have. And now, I mean, when you talk about DCI, I mean, you can really say it's truly a money making business. Kids is paying $2,000-3,000 just to be a part of it, and that's only for a summer. So, but I don't disagree with you in the idea of the fact that they're doing the same thing. Um, and I see Will down here. I'm gonna bring him in. But so what you're basically saying, and this was actually going to my next point. So then you're saying now the focus is off.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I think the overall, and again, I can't speak for every band director because we don't know their intentions, but I think the focus is there. You just have to, you just have to, you have to get to the main thing a different way. So we are trying to keep kids off the streets. We are trying to give kids an opportunity to have a chance of higher academia. You are, as of right now, you got more band programs with more money than ever. People are giving thou wows away, right? They are. I'm I'm looking at them. Papers on my desk. I'm looking at them. They throwing football money at people with signing bonuses. Hey, you know what? We should do that. Do that show. It's like a draft pick. Real talk.
We'll do it.
We should
We
do a
can do it.
draft pick show. Where's out? We're gonna do a draft pick show. Hey, that's our idea. It started at Talk That Talk first.
I'm gonna
All
add it
right.
to the joint, but go ahead.
So, um, but no, I just feel like at the end of the day, with anything that's evolving, you got to reach the people in a different way, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like when we were, think about it. If you're talking to a lady, yeah, I'm going back with it. If you're talking to a lady, yeah, when you went to the skating ring and you skated up, when you got a number, you did what? You had that pen and paper. You feel me? Right?
Okay, I'm following you. Go ahead.
Are you following me? All right. When you got to well, not you, cause you old. When you got to when you got to college, when you got to college and you finally got that next tail, you got a chirp number, right? For all my next tellings out there, are you singular, wireless, all tail, you know, all them people. You had that or your sidekick. You got
Dang,
the number
amazing.
like that. Now what kids do? Give me Instagram.
Right, right. But everything you're saying is true, right? And that goes to what you were saying earlier. Right after after I get finished with this point, Will, I'm gonna bring you in. I want to hear your thoughts. But everything that you're saying is true, and that goes to the point of the fact that you got to keep up with the Joneses, right? But
Right.
using your example, let's remember this: that in every single one of those iterations and evolutions of how we got the number, the intent was the same. We was always
Correct.
trying to beat.
Right. But
Exactly. But
go ahead.
on the outward appearance though, and we're taking it back to HBCUs. Yes, things have changed in the way that we're trying to gravitate and bring the kids in.
Hmm.
But the question is, and again, this is all based on what our perception is, a speculation or whatever, because we're not going to talk about what we say this is what the band director is doing. But when they bring these kids in, is the focus still the level of education that it once was?
So then, but okay, I had to go about it in this way. But if we're saying that, then how can we determine that that was the focus in the beginning?
By the results that we were putting out.
But who's saying those?
Basically,
Mhm.
okay, go ahead, go for
No,
it.
but that's like saying, well, who's saying no? Those results weren't taking place back then. You dig what I'm saying? I think it's kind of, in your words, disingenuous to say that the focus was this and now it's not, and we're still judging it off of what? Like you saying, is it graduation rate? Is it what's the standard for what it was then to say that it was better then than now? That's all I'm saying. Because if it was broken, if we're saying it's broken now, then it didn't just get broken. That didn't mean it was broke back then.
That could be over time though.
So brother, what are you saying?
Hold up, real quick before we get into that, turn your speaker down a little bit,
Mine?
because I think you may be getting echo.
Okay.
All right,
Better?
yeah, no, tight.
I'm gonna go out and come back in school.
All right, while you do that, Will, we got you in here, brother. What you got?
No, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
No, I was I'm from Delaware here, and I'm 30, so I've been doing music for a while. I started doing music in exactly the fourth, fifth grade, all the way through high school, and then when I went to Delaware State, I did it for about a year, and then I switched to a different college. So I'm very familiar with music and all of that. But for me, I heard you guys say the golden years, and I hear that a lot because a lot of my older relatives, they went to Delaware State and they went to Hampton and they went to Morgan State, and that's what I hear is that late 70s to 90s ish was, for them and for a lot of people, the golden years of just HBCUs. Period. From the Greek life to the band life to just the life. Period. But for me, I would say, and I agree with that, but for me, on a commercial side and on, like you said, a media side, I think for me that movie Drumline, because if you consider my age, was very much a big pillar and a very big big deal for getting people into bands. If you consider the time that I joined around the time that movie had came out, you got to remember I didn't even know that that stuff really existed unless I heard it from someone. So, and you also YouTube wasn't out yet. So you got to consider this is the first time I'm really seeing it, other than maybe you might see it on BET. But this is the first time I actually seen it on a big commercial scale, like the movie Drumline. And from when I joined band in fifth grade and did it all the way through high school to college, it was unbelievable the number of people that were interested. Didn't matter if they were black, didn't matter if they were white. The amount of interest that brought to every school, at least I can say, in my area, it was tremendous. Everybody wanted to do band. Even if they did sports, they wanted to do band because again, it was something new to a lot of people. To see that Hey, let's give this a try. It looked cool at that time. And now I hear you say the YouTube and the TikTok and the stuff like that is almost, I don't want to say it's almost the same, because I feel like there's a lot more negatives that come with the social media than, of course, a movie dropping. But for me, I guess I haven't really seen a quote unquote golden years because of my age. I can just say I've seen it, how much a commercial impact can have on band interest. That's what I've seen. I didn't get to see Isaac Griggs. I think he, I'm as far as growing up, I think he passed away 10 years ago. I just turned like 20, so I really didn't get to witness him. William P. Foster, William W. Davis from Jackson. Those are guys that, again, to me, like you said, they created a blueprint for black, colleges to go forward. But for me, I don't think I've ever really seen a golden age at the age of 30, because everything has been commercialized. So for me, the only thing I can really say is I've seen a big push for black college bands and bands, period, post Drumline movie. And again, that comes with good and bad because there's a lot of media control in it. But, for me, I always liked Southern University. And I first saw them this past year at the Bayou Classic. It was the first time I ever saw them in real life. And I was telling people who weren't really familiar with the band world how surprised I was that, you know, they've still kept up, in my eyes, a standard of being really, really great, even though I haven't done band in 10 plus years. And people couldn't believe that. They were like, so you mean to tell me this band has been good since you graduated high school so long ago? I said, they're still good. So I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place, but for me, I would say as a whole, I don't think I've really seen a golden years of band. I probably would say I've seen the end of it, going into the Drumline movie, because after that, a lot of things really changed throughout HBCU's period. I mean, look, Morris Brown to me was really at the top at that time. And then after that, things go away. So I don't think I've really ever seen a golden age of HBCU band. I don't think so.
So before I get into the thing that I was gonna say, Quan, you got to realize he's from the MEAC era or area. So his thought process, because you got to remember, man, when I got to Norfolk, Morris Brown was one of the top dogs. Now in the SWAC, that probably is a different conversation. But in the MEAC, between Norfolk, FAM, Morris Brown, and Bethune,
Right.
that was really kind of, and A&T. I'll throw A&T in there. So that's just the reality of the situation, bro.
And there's a lot of schools, again, like, and I don't mean to cut them off, but again, I didn't know that a lot of those schools down south existed. You know what I mean? Like you said,
Right.
because again, don't get me wrong, like all the schools we saw in that movie, and again, you got to consider my age. It was like, oh, okay, these are the schools. And then as we get more, we get older, we get into high school, we start noticing, oh, there's more choices. There's Grambling, of course, we've known about. There's Southern, there's Alcorn. So it's like, oh, so there are other schools besides what we've been seeing. So again, for me, I don't know. I'm not trying to, put one against the other. I'm just trying to say what I've witnessed, and I think the age plays a part.
I respect that, Doc. I promise to God I respect that. But I'm gonna be real. Not saying that Morris Brown ever was bad. I would not say that. Cause when them boys played that destruction from Drumline, I could play that cadence to this day. You know what I'm saying? However, I realize this though, that to a degree, Drumline was good and bad. Like I always say this, because if you look at statistics, and they did some data research on this, that bands grew after Drumline. They did grow, but we had a decline with the No Child Left Behind that, right? But I would say this: I have seen, as a band director, looking at it, There has been a decline in band. How what? What?
Just go
The
ahead.
re- you said just say it?
No, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Oh, the reason why I say the 80s and 90s were the golden era of band was because sizes were consistent, differentiation of sound was consistent. Like now, for the most part, and I'm not saying no names, but you can close your eyes and be like, which one is that? Bethune sound like Bethune, Fam sound like Fam, Morris Brown sound like Morris Brown, Norfolk sound like Norfolk, Southern sound like Southern. PV had their own sound. Like everybody had their own identity. Now you don't.
But first of all, I agree absolutely in what you're saying, what you just said. But I actually think that he brings up a different point that's bigger than in this conversation, right?
Okay.
His error is the media error, right? So
Okay.
because his error is the media error, then that actually talks about the thing that we're talking about now, which is has the perspective of what we do changed? Because the beginning of his era and forward is nothing but media. So are we actually the thought process now becomes our kids engaging in it because of the media presence? The drumline culture started because of that happened. The bands grew because of drumline, because of that media presence, because kids wanted to beat the hell out of the drum. Like, let's be real. As a band director, when I first stepped into the band room, most kids just wanted to play drums. That wasn't necessarily a thing before me. Like, kids kind of was like, yeah, I want to play trumpet, I want to play tuba, blah blah. Blah. Well, tuba because the drum line, it's a tuba thing, shoulder, all that kind of crap. But my point is, it grew because of that, and now you have what you were talking about earlier, which I absolutely agree on. Southern, when it comes to a media side, built the blueprint, and now it's taking off. So now most of these kids are now interested in the thought process of, now I'm being looked at from this media side. I'm getting looked at because we cranking up on this side. They ain't saying I'm getting looked at because we just did a dope pinwheel. They saying I'm getting looked at because the girls is doing the girl thing in the front and we cranking up and we got millions of views.
So so are we saying that's bad? I'm not. Maybe I missed the point. That's all I'm saying.
No, I think for me, I was because before you had when you had left, you guys were speaking on the golden age,
Mhm.
and I was saying how I didn't get to see that age because I was
Oh
born in
Lord.
the '90s. So for me, I never really saw, even to now, a golden age for HBCU bands, other than what has been shown to me via previous content from,
Mhm.
again, the '90s, '80s, and going back. So going forward, it was, for me, the thing that played a part was, if you start from when I started playing in band, fourth, fifth grade, drumline going to now, that was what I would consider a golden age. But I'm considering that from a commercial marketing standpoint. Not
Mm.
necessarily saying everybody's great, but to make it seem like the cool thing to do, it started with that. Um, and as far as the media is concerned, I'm with you. When I was in high school, I wouldn't say even when I got to college my first year, I had bought the DVD that Hammer and them had did, and they sent it to me here in Delaware. And like you said, when it came to media, they were ahead of everybody. And being up here from the Northeast, we think we created everything. We think we do everything first when it comes to media. But I always tell people, I'm like, it's funny how down there in Louisiana, they took that band media and ran with it.
What's
I mean, way ahead.
what's crazy is, bro, they were selling DVDs on the humanjukebox.com
Right, right.
website. And if I matter of fact, underneath my TV right now, if I open that CD book, I still got the CD book, y'all. You will see DVDs that say season 2006, season 2007. That they were doing that then. The only difference, in the words of Pimp C, they just put it on the net. That's all they did. So again, they were 10, 15 years ahead. Um, but I guess my and so from that point of view, absolutely. But I think everybody, wherever you're raised and wherever you're reared, whatever time lapse that you lived in, that is your golden era. Like when you think about your mama, my mama for sure, she think my mama was born in 55. So guess what? The 60s, Supremes, Motown, 70s, the 70s music. She feel like that's the golden era. 80s with Maze and Frankie Beverly. She feel like that's real music there. That's what they say. So I'm looking at it though. If I'm born 87, I'm looking at the 90s bands. That is the golden era to me. But also as a director and educator, I also can go back and I'm like, damn, band pageantry was different. It was more precise. But also we have to take into account how much time do you really get to rehearse now? Because Luke, we always had this conversation. When your book got to be damn near 20 songs by game two. So I think the evolution is great, but there's certain things that I just feel like have been on the decline.
I agree to that. I agree to that.
But it's
Um, Go ahead.
but just I just have one question. But is Stan Jams truly the degradation of bands today?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
In my personal opinion,
Yes, why?
um, because of the fact that I just feel like this is my personal opinion, that we have taken all of the idea and the thought process out of the creativity of the purpose of the marching band in the first place, which is the field show, right? So much so that even now, the multiple battle of the bands that pop up are not even, most of them are not even marching based. Most of them are stand still, crank up, go home. And then in my thought process, when you have this many battle of the bands that are taking place only to stand still and crank up, then that's also taking away from the other things that you could be doing, such as your jazz bands, your wind ensembles, concert bands that you could be starting either during late fall or early spring or whatever, just to crank up. We're not even putting on field shows. So to some degree, yes. Now, am I saying that every university is doing that? No. Am I even saying that most band directors or band directors are not even focused on those other things? No. But what I am saying is that is a perspective that is definitely out there and that is definitely being shown based on what is there and what's given to us right now.
I don't even know how to rebut that. I mean,
Not you, bro. You usually got a rebuttal.
because the reason why is this: whatever your standard is, that's your standard. I'm not knocking it, right? But we do have to. Do I feel like band pageantry has taken a dip? Absolutely, absolutely. But to a degree, how can you say that when we've seen shows by A&T, shows by Florida Memorial that were great? I'm just, like,
But again, doesn't that fall into what he has said about me, about where you come from?
mhm,
Because don't get me wrong. Some places it seems like that's what they're really all about, is just getting together and cranking on somebody. Um, and some places it's like they do it all.
mhm.
So I mean, I guess for me, if I was to put it in a sports standpoint, the kids don't, and when you're in college, you don't get to control what you do as a student. You do what the coach, the director, whoever tells you. That's probably like one of the main places when you grow up where I don't really blame the students for too much of what they do, because you're really powerless in college. So wouldn't that fall on, if you're a band that's just focusing on, we go to a battle where it's a basketball stadium related, which means you're just going to stand and play, whether it be a field show type one. Don't you think whatever they lack in or master falls on the director?
Yeah, no,
You
I
know,
agree.
because I think because again, people only do what you tell them to do, so or what you allow. You know, but to me, as a coach, I would feel some type of way knowing I'm going up against other schools that meet the standard on everything, and I don't. I would feel some type of way, me personally.
And I would too. But here's the thing: that's the new ish. Like playing all those songs. That's the ish. I feel my opinion. That's why I say that the '70s, really '80s and '90s took band pageantry to to another level. Because if you really look at it, I'm gonna go back and look at it, but I believe it's like 1970 something. It's a video. I'm gonna pull it up where Florida A&M University they premiered Getaway on the field, and all they doing is just this right here, da 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 da, like simple move. Crowd went crazy, for that time frame. They the director overall set the standard for a band. He set the standard for what he wanted, and it evolved. So I do agree. The director sets it. It starts and sets with him. So if you have a trash show and you sound good in the stands, that's what matters to you. But I'm also looking at it to a degree. The bands that we say are top tier bands, they still killing it. You can't tell me that Jackson State shows are subpar. You can't tell me they sound bad. You can't tell me A&T don't look good and sound good. And you damn sure ain't gonna tell me that Florida Memorial don't sound and look good either. And they're being different. So
So what? So and we don't got to necessarily say names, but I don't. I mean, I'm looking. I see some groups that are rebuilding. So I wouldn't necessarily want to say that they're stand bands. But at what point do you say they're definitely a stand band? At what point do we say that's basically all they want to do? Because again, I see some groups and some schools that are in a rebuilding stage, getting their numbers up, doing their thing. So everything is really not really evened out yet for them in my eyes. But at what point do you say, okay, that director's been there X amount of years, they've got the same numbers, and when it comes to doing different things on a checklist, it appears that they only master when they in the stands.
I, Quan, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to answer that. But I want to jump in there real quick and just kind of throw something out there. The truth is, that's a hard question because per your administration is going to depend on when that time is, right? Like I know I know personally of some directors who whose focus, pure focus, was making sure that the students were musically sound, musically credible, be able to compete when they graduate, when they step into any particular room, whether they are playing or have the education. But the marching band wasn't that good. And the result of that was the administration was, I want a marching band that looks good in social media. So they got to go. And they'll get rid of that director for a more vibrant director that's going to bring, this uh, particular energy to the marching band. But then the music department suffers. The band part of the music department suffers because that may not be their focus. Um, and then I've actually seen the opposite where they will leave them in that seat because they are producing great musicians. So I don't. For me, just talking just from that point of view, asking the question, I believe it becomes difficult to be able to really dictate that. Um, I know me. I'm an older. I ain't gonna say I'm an older person, golly, but I'm somebody who looks at it from my lens, and if I'm seeing that if I'm not getting the result that I want, then I'm always going to seek knowledge and help and whatever I need to be able to continue to grow the situation that I'm in. But I don't think everybody, and I personally believe, I could be wrong, I don't think that everyone is like that. There are some people who are, and there's some people who are not. So that's my thought on that. Quan, what's your thoughts?
Say that last part again for me. I was checking the video to tell y'all the date. Tell me the last part again.
Smith. He was basically asking, when do you think is a good time for someone to be kind of moved out of the seat when there is no growth, when there is no growth in a particular program, when the numbers are not are not growing or something to that degree.
That's hard to say, bro, because I've seen students rebel on band directors. I've seen I've seen kids literally be like, man, we not playing that S. It meant it. And you seen programs where they had these numbers, they had the dedication and allegiance with a previous band director. That new band director came in, and that band director damn near had to kill 3/4 of the band to start over. And if we're gonna be honest, and most times, that's what happens. If you really think about it, most times that's what happens. Unless, going back to that media aspect, unless that band director is popular.
And I got some money questions for y'all too, because I hear y'all talk about money and band a lot. I got some money questions for y'all. Whenever you get to that part,
Yeah.
move.
Well,
Go ahead.
well, I was actually going to shift gears after this because you did mention money, you did mention scholarships, and my I wanted to say this when you said it, but I wanted to get to that point. Here's the thing. Yes, I don't disagree with you with the fact that people got bread. Universities are giving out money. Bands are giving out good money, good scholarships for a lot of band kids, a lot of band programs, so on and so forth. But the other half of that is, and this is very true. This reigns true, and in a lot of situations, the university is the smaller version of the world. Um, Inflation is real. So, for instance, and I'll just use my university as an example. Norfolk ain't cheap to go to specifically for an out of state student. Dude like me from Texas, bro, that ain't cheap. And yes, and I don't know what their budget is working with, but I'm just using this as an example. If they give me $30,000, well, yeah, that sounds like a lot. But with that out of state tuition, that $30,000 is not much. It really ain't. And so now you take that and you compare that to different universities, different situations, so on and so forth. So yeah, I definitely agree with some money out there, but universities prices also went up too.
And while we can prove that, and I agree with that, but let me be clear on how important marching band is, because the reality of it is, like you said, a university is a replication of the world. You're also going to invest in something that makes you money too. So let's look at it. With this new bill that they're trying to pass in Mississippi, right? That they're speaking about trying to close down the HBCUs, right? Do you know that Mississippi Valley State's University enrollment increased by 17%, and that was solely on the band? So I am going to put money in it. you know, um, so the reality of it is, like a brother in the comments was like, back in my day, we ain't nobody marched for scholarship. I mean, there's a lot of people that hold that near dear to the heart. Now, bless God, I marched in the golden era. I got a scholarship. Sorry. Um, However, at the reality of it is this though, y'all. Marching band in the HBCU world is king when it comes to the music part. It is. We could. It may hurt our feelings as band directors, but it is king, right? While you're there, The director should also emphasize for those that want to be music majors, this is the way to go. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. There's certain realities when I arrived at Worthing that I had to accept. There's a certain standard that everyone wants to have. Do I want every single one of my band kids to read music? I'm gonna use percussion for example. People can agree to disagree, whatever. I got some kids. I got a little Pookie and a little Knuckles. They just want to beat that hoe. Guess what? Let them beat that hoe. They not in the street. They not doing nothing wrong. Let them beat that thing. Pause. However, it's cool, you know. However, I do have some kids that say that Mr. Mitchell, I want to be a music major. You take them. The other kids, they be like, hey, Mr. Mitchell, I want to know how to read music. You take them. The reality of it is, the ones that you can save, you save. While you can teach, and if they're willing to learn, you teach. But the truth is, some people gonna get it, and some people not. And I feel like when it comes to the collegiate level, it is the upper echelon highest standard. But we have to be honest in certain facets. You're not gonna save everybody. You're not gonna keep everybody. So to maintain my integrity as a director, and I'm going to teach you everything that I have. If you receive the information, you do. If you don't, you don't. But some of what we're fighting is because music education programs at HBCUs are piss poor. So while I feel like the marching band shouldn't get a bad rep because the dean of instruction may not be doing what he's supposed to do. Like if we look at it from a macro perspective, student teaching is flawed. From a macro perspective, some of them professors are stretched thin. If we look at it from a macro perspective, there's not a lot of opportunities for you to truly observe. So while we're saying all of this, it's music education's fault.
I don't disagree with you, but I have a question then to go against that then, right? My question is then, because again, I don't disagree with that. But my question is then, should we not pull back some of the focus and attention that we receive in the marching band aspect and put it towards the music department? For instance, let me put in it, give an example. You and I both said and both agreed that during the golden age and the golden era of band, right? Bands had set numbers. You march this amount on the field. If you didn't make the field, you were getting water, you were doing blah 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 blah. And and brother Wilson on here, nobody got scholarships to march, but now we got scholarships to march. But the focus now has I got to get my band mass band size now. And we got to be able to have the scholarships to be able to substantiate those numbers. But what if, just by happenstance, what if we pulled back those numbers, had a set number, anybody, you give out your amount of scholarships, boom, that's what it is. Any other kids who come in, just walk on kids who just want to be there, and we take some of that money and then we put it into a actually paying the band directors, real, like truly paying them. B, supporting the music department so that we can actually get professors in there that are specifically for the music department, and not having the head band director be this person and this person and this person. So why are those options not available?
Well, I can't speak about it because I'm not at that level. But then it goes back to the standards. I
I got a question. uh, when it comes to the money part, um, and I think I spoke about this with you a couple shows ago. When it comes to the money part at some of these schools, um, I hear people say that the sports get what they get because they bring in money. And I think I said in the comments that, well, at the HBCUs, a lot of people go to those schools because the bands they see. When it comes to those big schools that we talk about, when football is king or basketball is king, like a Duke or UCLA, but mainly Duke, at those schools, what someone told me was that when you have a program at a school that's that uh, lucrative or that powerful, they are a part of the school, but everything they do is kind of separate. So I did like there's no way anybody could go tell the coach of Alabama what to do about their kid. He'd probably tell you take your kid and leave. But it seems like when it comes, and I heard you guys say this, I think the last show, when it comes to teaching, coaching, and dealing with kids in band, if you say that, it's like, oh, there's a call being made to the president. He's contacting the director. And my thing is if a band is one of the main reasons that people are coming, why don't the bands do like some of those programs at the other schools where if we are the main reason that people are coming here, how we run our department is how we run our department.
Luke, you want to answer that, or you want to?
Well, I have a perspective on it. Your perspective may be different than mine. I can tell you that. But
Because
I
if we got a Southern University and we say that the band is the thing for why people come here, I don't see why. I mean, if and they go to the Grammys or the awards and all these different places, if they are such a big group like that, a part of the university, I don't again I don't understand how anybody could even tell them what to do or even be against what they do because we're the reason people come here.
right, but the thing about it is, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Quan. My bad.
No, I'm just laughing, bro. Because
Oh,
I'm just laughing.
I was gonna say. So it, there's multiple facets of that answer, right? So one of the things that come into my mind is the fact that it's a trickle down effect. Let's be real. When you're talking about low income, low socioeconomic areas, urban areas, so on and so forth, the band is not valued, not in the way that it should be. There may be some. There's always the outliers where there are good administration who truly supports the band program, but by and large, it's not necessarily supported the way that it needs to be. Whether it's from an admin perspective, whether it's from a financial perspective, then that information and that same thought process just translates to your HBCUs. Yes, we're going to use you to make our university look good, and then you go back in your little corner. Think about it. Football teams get new uniform daggone every year. Cheerleaders get new uniforms daggone every single year. Bands don't, you know, by and large. Now there are some universities who are, you know, were able to get sponsorships from certain programs and so on and so forth. But I really think it's just a trickle down effect of how we value our students and our band programs.
So, do
You
you really
know,
think in the HBCU world that they truly don't see bands as the thing that brings people to the schools, like the way the other schools see sports as the thing that brings them to the school?
no, I don't think that they see it like that. I think that they look at it from a worldly perspective. Again, like I've said before, when you think about athletics, it's visible. It's a moneymaker. It is. I mean, it is what it is. Football is a moneymaker in the world. Well, not in the world, but in the United States at least. Because when you start talking about Europe and stuff, you talk about soccer and stuff. But baseball is a moneymaker. Basketball is a moneymaker, and that's what people see. So while I think they realize that band is the thing that brings people to the university, I don't think that they value it in the same way because it won't get my kid. I can't take Jamarcus, who plays trumpet, and they go be a teacher in some high school. I can't highlight that the same way that I can highlight if John went from my football team and now he's playing in the NFL. Those are two totally different things. Because as soon as they get on that NFL team, John Walker, Southern University, you know what I'm saying? And he gets the clout for that. They get the clout for that. They don't get the clout for Jamarcus being a band director at Poonduck High School in buttfuck Mississippi. It's just not the same. So yeah,
So
excuse
so
my
he
language, by the way.
so here's the reality of it. Two things. Number one, I do agree with what Luke said, the value of it and the reality. We know that in music education, specifically band, if you audition, you're going to get a form of money in some facet, guaranteed. I see kids that are willing, that are 5'4", that are willing to sit on the bench for 4 years to receive a nothing letter to a Division 7 school in Kentucky field just to say I play football because that's what we value. That's number one. Number two, Auburn University. They're building a 5.5 million private facility. Their starter money, 1.5 million, was given to them by their athletic department. The remaining funds will be campaign and fundraised through alumni. Now we're starting to get in the conversation of generational wealth. Some of these universities, the cost to attend is $62,000 a year. So that means when you leave out of there, most of those people, they don't have student loans like that. We do. So it's hard for me to even give back to my alumni association when I'm struggling. So when we really sit down and think about it, yes, our marching band, I believe Prairie View is a $1 million plus band, real talk. Because I see the work. I feel like all marching bands at HBCUs are $1 million plus bands that should have adequate staff, pay them properly. I believe the director of bands should be a position in itself. Not, oh, he the head band director, but he the concert person, but he the jazz band coordinator. No. And then he teaches. And then he got a studio. My whole point is this, bro. We don't value it. Because if you really think about like most HBCUs, we could pick two things. Either they got a good band and one or two departments. For the most part, you don't really say that the university as a whole is good. I could say Southern University is known for their band, their law program, and their nursing program. I'm not saying Southern is a bad school. Please listen to the whole clip. But I know those three things, you could pick them out. We say PV, we known for the storm, engineering, and nursing. Like when we really sit down, it's small pockets. But what's consistent in most of these HBCUs is the band. But when it comes to this, the director that's already being shortchanged has to consider his livelihood. We There was an assistant director of bands position for a university. The position paid this man $60,000. Assistant. So in this hierarchical system, the only one that really gonna make money is the head. So I'm not gonna lose what we call in Louisiana my l'argent for that. Nah. So then we had that crab in the barrel mentality. Well, I gotta keep mine, big homie. I gotta keep mine, and now we're running into that. I don't mean to go off tangent, but to a degree, how can we win? When you really think about that. So I'm going to use the media because guess what? Now, when I go and do these performances for these corporations, go and write that check. So I got to do what I got to do.
But you're saying something that I've been saying for a minute, right? Don't lead. I'm not taking these kids out of here unless you paying X amount of dollars.
How much does a coach plus cost? Because I hear some people say, like I've always said that the best band should get six figures, but I think I've heard you guys say that some things cover bus and nothing else.
bro,
Something will cover bus and room, but not this. So
bro,
what does it really cost to leave?
bro. When I was in the band, to go from Prairie View, which is down 290, which is down the highway, to Houston was $10,000.
Ain't changed much.
We talking about, and at the time we wouldn't even that big. We
And
talking
that's
about,
per bus.
10 to 15.
no, that's like seven. That's seven buses. But you got
Oh,
seven buses, right? You got to feed the kids going and coming. You may have a police escort. You got to pay them overtime,
right.
like 10 racks. So when these companies be like, oh, they gave $100,000 to every band. What is that? If you came from North Carolina to Houston,
Oh, right.
what is that? To go to Honda just to say, oh, we went to Honda. Oh, we gave them 100K. What is that?
So it's
100?
safe to say that
Wait,
there.
wait, 100? They gave it 100 before?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, but what is that?
20.
Huh?
20. 20.
Come on, man. That's the trip. That's the trip. So when we sit down and we think about all this, at some of these events, it be your own people.
So there is no profit. The
No,
profit is getting more kids to sign up.
that's what they think.
Yeah,
That's the profit.
that's the
That's what they think.
well, but see that, but see, we going into a completely different territory, but that goes to my arguments that I've had in so many different situations, whether it's been on here or on the band report. Is the simple fact that there are so many people who throw these little things, these HBCU blah 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 blah, these battle of blah 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 blah, where the showcase is the band, but then you do all these other things outside of it. The HBCU recruitment fair. You know, we give one kid a scholarship, but then you send the band home with $30,000 and think that you've done something. No, you didn't do anything. All you did was exploit the band program to to thicken your pockets, and then to say, well, we did some stuff for the HBCUs too.
But unfortunately, one hand washed the other. Like, if I don't go, then my kids will be like, I don't want to be in this band. Because the truth is, before I got the PV, you had to love PV. Because first of all, our football team lost. They wasn't traveling. You know what I'm saying? So you just had to love the storm because it was the storm. Rain, sleet, or snow. you know, my thing is now these bands are traveling due to a lot of media publicity. So then yes, more kids come. And then I feel like some directors they're using that as a bargaining tool. Like, hey, I brought 280 kids to your university. So 280 times 23,000. That's how much I invested in university. You got to give me something back. That's your only bargaining tool. Again, Mississippi Valley, 17% increase in enrollment. Just saying, bro. He got like he could really walk to the president's office and really say, man, give me another whatever. 40,000 wow. Give it to me.
We say all of that, and we got to get ready to wrap. But we say all that, and I don't disagree with you. But this brings it back to the point. We say all of that, but then from an education standpoint, what are we doing? We get the kids in, great, but are these kids prepared to walk into somebody's classroom from a music educator's perspective,
Mhm.
and
So,
and prepared to truly be an educator?
but 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 let me say that. Let me go back to my previous answer. Then that falls on the director. While all of this, because here's the truth: as a band director, I am the media personnel. As a band director, I am the marketing. scheming person. As the band director, I am the budgeter. As the band director, I am the administrator. As the band director, I am a counselor. I'm all of that in between, as well as the creative representative, so forth and so on. Like, I'm all of that. The problem is music education is not reality when you're at the university. Because the truth is, 70% of your job is not teaching music. 70 to 80% is admin work. I got to get 3 quotes to make sure I get the right bus. Okay, organizing your schedule. Okay, private lessons for this particular section. Okay, you know, uniform check. Our budget is here. We need to do this. Okay, we got to move this. We got this check from this organization. I need you to take it from general funds and put it in the band account. That's what being a band director is. I wish we could just do uh articulation exercises and whatnot. That's not reality. So when we say things such as, are we preparing them for education? We're not, because we're not giving them the real reality of what being a band director is. And we mask it. I hate to say it like this. Some of us are making this shit look real easy. And all you see is the end product. Do you know the hardest part about cooking is the prep work? So nobody sees the prep work. You just see the end result. And I think that's what social media has done. Nobody sees it took this man 2-3 days to arrange this. How many hours he put into writing this arrangement, teaching it, shaping it, so forth and so on. Think about it, y'all. You practice over 30 hours in a week for 5 minutes. But then you got people talking about, yeah, as soon as I graduate from college, I'm going to get a band. But you play trombone and you ain't never pick up a pair of drumsticks. You don't know how to write a curriculum. That's what education is. And everybody, once you get out, and we call it at PV crossing them flagpoles, and reality slap the shit out of you, your first 5 years going to determine if you really built for this. What were your intentions while you were doing it? Because here's the thing, that's gonna be something else, and it's a topic for another show. Now we're getting terminal degrees, us, with ease. We're getting terminal degrees. Don't be surprised if this bar moves again. Don't be surprised, because it was a one thing where we got our bachelors, and then it was a hot thing to get your masters. Soon as we started getting masters, it was like, well, hold on, you got to have a terminal degree. Oh no, then you got to be published. Oh no, you got to record an album. Like, the bar is always being moved because we are not playing chess. We're playing checkers, specifically with education and music education. Y'all better start looking at these bills that's being passed for these midterms, and how it affects education, and how these laws about criminalization and all that affects education, and how people really pushing for charter vouchers. Y'all better wake up and smell it. That's what we're not doing. I'm gonna get off my tangent.
This ain't the first time they was pushing for them charter daddies either.
I'm gonna go off. Thanks for having me on.
Nice meeting you, bro.
No
Yeah.
problem, bro. All right, man. We got to get ready to wrap. We're gonna end it right there with Quan preaching us on the way out. Man, so this has been super dope. Again, we have a lot of great stuff in the works coming up, but definitely, I don't even know if we got to a conclusion for this one. I really don't. But I do know that from the conversation that we had, there's definitely still a lot of work to be done. And that doesn't mean that there's not work at all being done, but that does mean that, again, going back to conversations that we've had in the past, it takes for all of us to get into a room and come to an agreement on what the vision should be and what that looks like. Will everybody agree? Absolutely not. But I definitely think that if we get on, everybody gets on the same page, a lot of the work can be done, it could be done, and it should be done. With that being said, Quan, any final thoughts? Anything you got for the culture?
Music education is bigger than what we see. Education is bigger than what we see, and we truly need to be um, educating ourselves and teaching this next generation what the reality is.
I absolutely agree with that. That I kind of don't want to rebut on that,
Nah, rebut it, bro. But Rit.
but it's almost difficult to be able to have that conversation and do that when so many of our educators are far removed from what it's like to be an educator in these spaces. I think there is a difficulty in that. Anyway, with
So
that
what you
being,
so what you're trying to say is they need to get their ass about them seats.
I don't, I'm not saying that. Not in that. Not in the way that you put it. I earnestly believe. No. Listen. I earnestly believe that there should be a 2 to 3 year span where you take about at least a sabbatical of a couple of months or whatever to go back into whether it be a middle school program or high school program just to see again what the trends are, what's happening in those levels, so that way you can take it back to your university, and then that can be part of the education that you give the students who are music education majors or education majors. Because if we're just and I actually had it on the list, we didn't get to it. But if we're just talking about teaching the routine of what we've been teaching for years and years and years, but so much has changed in the actual seat, then are we truly teaching the students to be true educators? Or are we just teaching routine? Shout out to Harry Wong. Rest in peace. And
Teach
if
like
you
a
don't,
champion.
huh?
Teach like a champion.
Yeah. If you don't know who Harry Wong is, if you took an education course, you know who Harry Wong is. That's the first book that you get that talks about classroom management, how to run your classroom, first day, all that kind of stuff. He just passed away, by the way. And don't get me wrong, when I stepped into education, that book was very helpful. But as time went on, there are certain things about that book that was outdated. And let's just keep it real. Specifically in some of the areas that we teach in. Not all of it, but there were some things in there that it was kind of outdated.
I'll just be quiet with this, but I'll close with this, man. I think nothing nothing beats standards. Nothing beats standards. And the reality of it is accountability and standards will always win. That's why I will never, never come across as if I know everything. That's why you should always have mentors. That's why you should always pick the brain of people that you trust and care for that will tell you the truth. The reality of it, if you could go through my phone, which you're not, however, but if you could, you would see me asking questions from band directors near and far so that I can continuously get better as a director. I've spoken to band directors from Mr. Hamer all the way down to Dr. Chipman, all in between, because I want to be better. The reality of it is some people get in those seats and they become complacent. And then it is about routine because they feel like, well, it has gotten me there thus far. Not realizing even the Bible speaks about going from glory to glory and faith to faith. The whole point is at the end of the day, bro, the reality is some of these educators, and we know, and it's just like the financial aid office, they got them jobs and they want to coast. That's been some of the issues with these HBCUs, with music education. They're outdated. I agree. They're outdated. They don't understand what's going on, but they feel like I've this has gotten me here thus far. That's why going to TMEA is important. That's why going to these MEAs is important. That's why Crystal's platform is important. There's nothing that Crystal is such an open book when it comes to music education. If you didn't pick up a nugget from her, that was because you chose not to eat. So you go and you listen to people like that. I'll leave it with that. Some of this is our fault, and we don't want to hold ourselves accountable. We didn't vote in certain aspects to ensure that at the grassroots level that our schools were taken care of by people that was looking out for our benefit. And many times we kill the forest for the tree behind egos. But it's a whole different story.
Yeah, you said standards, and when you said it, I was like, but I guess foundations and standards would probably be the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then we're on the same page. So then, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. With that being said, he did mention Crystal, and Crystal will be on this Friday. She is going on her normal show. I think she's doing again the Tales from a Band, not Tales from the band, Tales from the Podium. God darn it, I forgot the name of it already. Don't get mad at me, Crystal. I'm sorry. But she will be on this Friday, and you definitely need to get some nuggets from her, like he said, because the information that she does provide, I'll be listening, man, and to some of the stuff that she talks about, not even from this last show. If you didn't listen to the last show and the horror stories that she was talking about, oh my gosh. And she has some more this week on this Friday. Dark Side of the Podium. That's what it's called. Dark Side of the Podium. I knew I was going to get it. I actually looked it up. But still, don't worry about it. I knew I was going to get it. Anyway, man, but this has been super dope. Get the paddle. Oh, my gosh. This has been super dope, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Quan, brother, you know I always appreciate you. Yeah, I know. I got gray hair, bro. I got gray hair. Hey, man, it is what it is. Let's get it.
Getting the cut.
Let's get it. Don't give me that little phony hand daddy, too. I want the real pause. But again, if you do want to hit the Cash App, hit the Cash App, JLuke 3191906 $. JLuke 3191906. Hit the Cash App if you want to give to your brother, for his birthday, for his 40th, man. Come on.
Give him 40 on this, or give him 40 for 40 years around the sun.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about, man. Support me. All right, man. This has been great, man. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Quan, brother, you know I always appreciate you. Love you, brother. And we will see you guys on next Whizzle. That's weak. If you ain't know that was weak. For all my people who are not 40 and didn't know anything about Snoop Dogg. For shizzle my nizzle. Whizzle. This song would crank, by the way. Don't nobody gonna try to write it now. I gotta turn it off.